Welcome back to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. Thanks for spending time with us once again. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alan Kornhauser. Hi, Alan.
Hey, good morning, Fred.
Good morning. Well, busy week. This week marked the 20th anniversary of the 2005 DARPA Challenge, and you kind of celebrated in a special way.
Yes, in my class on Wednesday on the actual 20th anniversary, um, I had one of the members of the class back, the group that did it with me, or they did it. I did it with them, and a number of the other members of the team on Zoom, and I gave a little presentation, a reminiscence of that fateful day and the time leading up to it 20 years ago, and I thought that maybe we should do a podcast on it and make it available since to everyone else, since at least for me it was a highlight of my career, I guess. I've never had so much fun, so I thought that maybe we'd run through some slides that I've given a number of times, and let everybody sort of maybe benefit from it or enjoy it, or whatever.
Well, for those who don't know what the DARPA Challenge is, you're about to find out. So we'll let the presentation kind of get into that for us.
So here we go. This is a slideshow that I basically went through with the class, and as I mentioned, Gordon Franken from the team, who was in person with me, and a number of the other members were on Zoom at the same time. A reminiscence of the DARPA Grand Challenge of 2005. And so basically, where the DARPA challenge originated was with a vision of automated highway systems, which I like to date back to 1939, the World's Fair in New York, where the General Motors, who has played a big role in the evolution of automated highways and automated vehicles, actually first presented the concept, and visuals of that concept are here, and then this is what our cities were going to look like at their display at the 39 World's Fair. And in fact, in the 50s, they then went and actually put out a little promotional on this as to the vision of what all this would look like. And then here it goes. General Motors, your key. The key to the future, my goodness, in all the 1950s. Look at how nice it was in the 50s. Why aren't we back in the 50s? Guys in the front, ladies in the back, singing in the car. My goodness. And I guess they're stuck in traffic. I guess traffic even in the 50s was a problem. Oh, and an AM radio in the car. My goodness. Ooh, and a screen pops up. Oh, and maybe it's a screen to the Autoway Safety Authority. And here we are on the Autoway Safety Authority in the future.
This is Firebird 2304. Firebird 2304. How are things on the Safety Autoway?
Safety Autoway.
Power to Firebird 2.
I mean,
Firebird
can you imagine? I mean, Cold War all over this.
To the tower. We're heading for Chicago. Please route us through. Over. Roger, MP2.
Ooh, and look, notice all the congestion on that roadway. I mean, they built that automated roadway to Chicago from, I guess, LA, and there's one or two cars on there, I guess. Who picked up the tab on that? Anyway, that's what we once thought. That led to a number of studies that I participated in the 70s and the 80s, and then in the 90s, the automated highway system, which culminated in having a string of cars in a platoon going down, I guess it was I-5 or 15, There were magnets down the center, and they were basically magnet followers, I guess, or car followers, and doing lateral control with them. With the magnets, and in fact, not far from here at Sarnoff Research, there's the remnants of a test track that we're testing lateral control technology in the 50s and 60s, and so that's sort of the state of the system. And then out of that came an announcement from the Defense Advanced Research Projects Administration of a grand challenge in the fall of 2004, which was a challenge to have automated road vehicles travel some 130 miles on desert roads in the desert roads, of course, in the desert. And the reason was because the Defense Department had a vision that maybe 25% of its trucks by 2015 would not have drivers in them. Why put troops or drivers in harm's way driving logistics vehicles when in fact an automated system might be able to do it? And really a grand vision by the Defense Department, and try to incentivize the industry and researchers to do this. They had a challenge in which basically a prize of $1 million was put up if someone could put together a vehicle that could travel that distance and not crash without anybody driving it except computers. And so with that, I'm teaching class in the fall of this class, in fact, very similar to this class, in the fall of 2004. And the student in the back of the room, Ben Klaber, raises his hand. Professor Kornhauser, is Princeton going to participating in this challenge? I mean, here we're talking about personal rapid transit, automated vehicles, and so on. We should be out there building one. We could win. We could win. We could win $1 million. Ooh. Ben, take it easy back there. No, but Professor Kornhauser, Ben, easy now. Come on, this is tough. This is really tough. There's no guideway. You're just out on the road. There are obstacles. You've got to be. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of coding that needs to be done, and the control systems have to work. Da da dee da da da. And we certainly don't do that stuff here. I mean, we teach you equations. We do mathematics. We write code. We don't do this. We don't actually build anything and actually have it do something. I mean, this is Princeton. Oh, Professor Cornell. Plus then it's really hard. Nobody's going to be successful at this. And so, of course, then the race the challenge is on. I read in the news that in fact Carnegie Mellon had the best vehicle. It accomplished 7.8 miles before it crashed and burned, and it was the best of the bunch. And so, of course, I come into class and after with that headline, and I go, "Oh, hey Ben in the back, hey, Ben, look, I told you so. It's a good thing we didn't participate. I mean, do you think we would be better in Carnegie Mellon at this? Come on. I mean, and they only went 7.8 miles. They were supposed to go 100 and some miles. I know this is really tough." Oh, yeah. And Ben says, "Okay, yes, you're right." And then all of a sudden, DARPA announces that because nobody won and they still had the $1 million prize, why don't they do another one of these things next year in 2005? And they'll have the DARPA 2005 Grand Challenge. And everybody will be better prepared, and somebody assuredly will win the prize. And of course, Ben raises his hand back up. Professor Cornhusker, can we take part in the 2005? We can do this. We could be competitive. We could win. Hey, Ben, remember what I told you? No, cut it out. This is a plus. Come up here and let me look at your fingernails, Ben. Ben, your fingernails. Look at how clean they are. Look at how well manicured. I mean, and look at everybody else's nails in this room. Anybody out there really, have any dirt underneath their fingernails? It requires dirt under your fingernails to do this kind of thing. Oh, no. And in fact, Ben at the class was on Zoom, and he confirmed that, in fact, we had that discussion about the cleanliness of his. I mean, look at Ben. I mean, of course, he has nice, clean fingernails and still does. And we didn't. But come on, Professor, come to lunch with us. We'll convince you. And so I went to lunch with a bunch of students, and they convinced me that hey, they really wanted to do it. And I said, well, the most important thing in life is showing up. And if all of you and some of you, or at least some of you, are going to show up, and let's see what we can do. But you got to show up. And there we were on October 8th, 20 years ago, at the start of the DARPA Grand Challenge. We were vehicle number 41. I'll explain that in a minute. And we were the 10th seed. So through the preliminaries, we had achieved 10th ranking out of 42 teams or 44 teams that were there. And then there was a 2007 challenge within 2 years we'll discuss. And again, the reason for the challenges are described here. And the competition at that time, number 24, again, a late entry, was a six-wheeled Cornell vehicle. I guess if you're going to go through the desert, you need more than four wheels. I guess that's what they thought. There was Anthony Lewandowski. I suspect some of you know the history of Anthony Lewandowski, some ups and some downs. Well, at the time, he was trying to do a motorcycle. He had training wheels in the back, and then they would retract, and after the thing got going, and so on. And I guess it didn't make it to through the qualifying rounds. There was Indiana University with I don't know how many LiDARs in the front. They had their challenges. I guess you want some redundancy, but if the redundancy is all the same product, then well, maybe it wasn't done for redundancy. There was Oshkosh, who's a manufacturer of Army or military vehicles. They were a vision-only team. There were two. I'll mention they were the number one vision-only team, and were actually completed the course. Did a great job. And then there was Carnegie Mellon. They had two vehicles. This was one of their vehicles. I guess, again, they're maybe taking the approach if there's an obstacle, they'll just run it over it and push it aside. I don't know what the heck that thing was, but whatever. I guess it did something. And then there was, and they finished. And then there was Stanley of Stanford, who won. I think there were 3 or 4 finishers. They were the fastest. They won with a Volkswagen, but the resources they had, well, I should say the resources that Carnegie Mellon had were were non-trivial. I think they had $1 million grant or research contract from General Motors, and they did, and they used it well. They did a great job, and Chris Urmson did a wonderful job there and deserves all that. And look at what he's done since then with that experience. And then back to Stanford. They won, but they had gotten two cars that were already that they had the actuators, the sensors, and I guess maybe the computer in the cars. Two Volkswagens, and at least what I heard was 30 Volkswagen engineers working with them. So talk about I guess they should have won. And then there was us. And we were the only other vision only system. We had one stereo camera in the front. That was it. That was our sensor system. We did have two GPS antennas, courtesy of Trimble, who gave us those things. We were, of course, licensed, I guess. We had a license plate. The license plate in the back looked exactly the same as the license plate in the front. Whatever. I guess we were somewhat licensed, and that was us. And we called ourselves Prospect 11. Why do we call ourselves Prospect 11? Is Princeton has clubs. They were on Prospect Street. It's actually on Prospect Avenue, but it's called Prospect Street. And there were 11 of them at the time, and so we were Prospect 11, and the making of a monster. The team. This is our team. This is the students that put it together. There was Andrew Sachs. Andrew, this is the fall of 2005, and Andrew's class of 2008. So he was a fall semester sophomore, and he's now a professor at Harvard. Anand Atreya, he was also class of 08, although he may have been 09, but I think it was 08, and I don't know how many startups he's had. There's Brendan Collins. Oh, another class of 08, another sophomore. Not a bunch of seasoned engineers here. Brendan Collins, he did a bunch of things for Airbnb. Scott Schiffers, he was a senior. Oh my goodness, we had some seniors, and then here's Josh Herbach, class of 08, also sophomore. He's still at Waymo. Brian Cattle, another class of 08. Who you see, whatever, a bunch of sophomores in here. In fact, when they were working on this in the previous spring, they were freshmen. Who I guess at least I could convince somebody to work on this and get to work on it. Brian's doing array radars these days. Gordon Franken, who another sophomore, he builds airplanes for Boeing these days. Rachel Blair, she was a senior also, and done a bunch of things for Trimble and other companies are ensuing 20 years. And there I was. I was the supposedly team leader and all this. And we're missing Ben Essenberg, who was class of 05, who helped us out an enormous amount in the spring leading previous spring. And then was a real helper and during the competition. With that team, as you can see, all of our experience, the real objective that we had was not really to win $1 million, but really to enrich the academic experience of the students. And I certainly think we certainly accomplished that. But that really was the objective of our participation. The constraints is that we had essentially no money. I mean, we didn't even, I don't know that we knew what LiDAR was. If we would have known how much a LiDAR was, there was no doubt that we couldn't possibly afford one. We could barely afford a stereo camera pair to give us stereo images and that we could process to be able to identify objects ahead and to basically gauge how far they were ahead and locate them relative to our current position. And our guiding principles had to be simplicity. Andrew wrote the steering code, and it was basically shoot the gaps. And it's amazing how well that feedback control system actually worked, and the various things that we did in putting it together to just try to simplify the process. What was really heartwarming, at least for me at the time, was that PC Magazine reporting on this shortly thereafter, or maybe it was during the warm up to the finals. Homemade, they called us. Unlike the fancy drive-by wire system employed by Stanford and VW, Princeton students built a homemade set of gears to drive their pickup. You can see the gears. I mean, these were Ben put them together, that I could see from the electronics textbooks they were using that they were learning as they went. Yes, this was 2 weeks before midterms. Problem sets were due, and so on, and so they were doing problem sets, and of course, learning as we went. And in the fall of 2004, we had to get a car. So thanks to Rick Spina, one of my former students who was at GM, that I gave a call to and said, hey, you guys have any cars? Can you give us a car for this? I mean, and we know you have a big grant to Carnegie Mellon. How about just a car that you don't want? And Rick somehow found this vehicle that was being transported to some dealership on Long Island, and something fell on the roof here and damaged it. So they basically, Rick said, "Oh, this thing, we have to basically just take it off of our inventory and salvage it, and maybe we'll give a gift to Princeton as salvage value for this vehicle. We can probably, we can expense that on our books or something like that." But here, Alan, just sign here and you can have it. And of course, I didn't read any of the fine print. I just, all I have to do is sign, man. I'm signing. And before you know it, this vehicle appeared at Princeton, and we at least now had a vehicle on which to try to participate in this competition, for which some kids might get a little dirt under their fingernails. And later, I looked at what I signed, and it said. It said that the vehicle could never see the light of day, never be on the road. It wasn't roadworthy. Sure, you can take it apart and take a piston, bring the class here, take a look at a piston. But I guess, well, luckily I didn't read that, what we were supposed to do. So in the fall of 2005, there we were at the start of the DARPA challenge. You can see our license plate back here at Princeton University plate. I guess I don't know what you want to imply about its licensing or not licensing. I don't know. We never mind. And all of our great sponsors. I mean, somewhere on here is Haynes Blueberry Farm in South Jersey. Tom Haynes, where I go pick blueberries every July 1st or so. Tom, I don't know, let us use his cranberry bogs to test the vehicle as to for us to determine any slip between the wheels and sand. Since we were going to go out in the desert and run this on sand, we thought we needed to know some characteristics of wheel slip on sand. So we went, dragged this thing down there to his farm and tested it. So we were so thankful that he let us use the farm, that we gave him a sponsorship. We didn't have to pay for it, so therefore that was in lieu of that. I mean, we had no money, and it wasn't so easy. So this is the national qualifying event, run 2. We had a very good first run, and we decided we wanted to do better. So we changed a few things. And so this was our second run. And we were, and we had music playing in the vehicle. And unfortunately, we can't really play James Brown here because of violations of copyrights. But all of a sudden, whoa, what just happened? And the other view of this, whoa, whatever improvements we made, oh my goodness, well, maybe it'll be better here, okay? Oh my, what did we do? Get the calibrations wrong? Oh, ouch. Oh, but the learning that was going on, but for the learning, Physics 103, a perfect elastic collision. I mean, just perfect. So, as you will see, Gordon Franken put this together.
Hi there, class of 2010. My name is Gordon Franken.
And I'm Alex Downey.
And I'm Prospect 11.
We'd like to give you an overview of the electrical and mechanical systems in this vehicle.
Why don't you come and take a closer look? The mechanical subsystems in Prospect 11 are designed to replace all of the controls a human would need to drive the vehicle.
These controls primarily include steering, throttle, brakes, and transmission.
However, we can also control the horn, headlights, and turn signals. In order to actuate the steering, we first disassembled the steering column. We mounted a set of gears behind the steering wheel, driven by a motor mounted underneath the column. This motor we took out of a typical cordless drill, such as this one. An optical encoder provides position feedback so that we can control the angle of the steering wheel to within a fraction of a degree. For example, I can use this wireless gamepad to steer the vehicle.
We bought the drill at Home Depot for $29.95. And this is taking place in the
Prospect
fall
11
before
has
the
two
competition.
independent braking modules that operate in parallel. This one on the right is the primary brake. It's a linear actuator powered by a 12-volt DC motor. It operates by applying tension to this cable, which runs to the brake pedal. This is a rotary potentiometer which is used to provide position feedback. This unit on the left is a pneumatically powered emergency brake that can be used as a backup in case the primary brake fails.
Notice the spring.
It operates in a similar manner
29
by
cents.
providing tension to a separate cable that also runs to the brake pedal.
Many newer vehicles, including this one, have no mechanical link between the gas pedal and the engine throttle. Instead, the gas pedal is an electronic sensor which communicates with the engine control computer. Rather than physically actuate the gas pedal, we interface directly with the engine computer, simulating the sensor response of the original pedal. This is accomplished using our electronics panel and data acquisition unit. Together, these allow us to communicate with many of the sensors and actuators.
To automate the transmission, we replaced this column-mounted shifting lever with a linear actuator mounted under the dashboard. It's powered by a 12-volt DC motor. We also tapped into the signal lines so that we can determine at any time what gear the vehicle is in. In autonomous mode, the vehicle will automatically select the appropriate gear for a desired direction of travel.
Shifting to drive. Drive. Shifting to reverse. Reverse.
In manual mode, this toggle switch allows a human operator to manually shift into any gear.
We hope you've enjoyed this brief tour of Prospect 11. We'd love to show you more, but unfortunately we're out of time.
If you're interested, feel free to come and see us after our presentation.
So long for now.
Bye!
So that video was created basically a little more than a month before the competition, and it was presented to the freshman class of 2010, which first arrived on campus in 2005. So here we are with the vehicle getting prepared, and our route to the challenge was there were initially 195 entries into the 2005 competition. Video submission of information in March 2005 led to 118 teams being selected for site visits in May. We didn't do so well in that site visit in May, and of course I think it was Brian Cattle who wrote the appeal saying that, oh my goodness, dog ate our homework. We were studying for finals and so on in May, and we just didn't get all the details done. Can we have some extra credit or something like that to qualify? And sure enough, they came back in the summer and did a second site visit in August. And by that time, we had increased the number of sophomores and so on that were working, or rising sophomores that were working on it. And actually, we're then of the 4 teams that got in through the alternate semifinalists. We were the number 1 team in that, and we then went to the semifinals in late September, of which we then qualified as the 10th seed of 23 finalists in the final event, which that should be October 8th, 2005, which we're celebrating the 20th anniversary this week on that. And so out of this, as we said, we completed 9.8 miles. And then after that, we returned 3 weeks later, and then we'll discuss that. So here we are. Here's a summary of our participation in the qualifying and the final event. So this is a second site visit, or the preliminary to the second site visit, basically showing again what the capabilities are. And of course, when students get out and hop in the back, they're not controlling this with a joystick. It's the processor in the vehicle that's controlling it. So we're not cheating here, and seeing if we in fact can follow a course and dodge obstacles and basically be able to sense them and do all the things we need to do. And how fast can we go? You can see our test track here are the West Windsor Fields. We just went out there. We put up some lights so we could actually do it a little bit of the testing at night, and we basically were debugging the system. Making sure that trying to figure out where we actually are relative to where we're supposed to be. There's error in GPS that we're trying to take out. Basic problem is that when GPS gives you a value of where it is, at what time is that value still an issue? And this is a better, actually, one of the best runs of anybody during the qualifying events. So, of course, we're supposed to go between the gates, and you saw the one test run where we didn't. But when it's all calibrated right, man, it just does it. No problem. And that's with no LiDAR, one stereo camera. And of course, one of the things that Josh Herbach wrote in the code was that we were saving the position of all of the obstacles that we detected. And the reason we were saving the position of all the obstacles was in case we got ourselves into a point in which we were stuck and we had to back up. Since we had no camera in the back, we would then rely, if we put it in reverse, because let's say it got stuck here and couldn't make the turn, but of course it makes the turn. Then what it would do is go into reverse and use the obstacles that it had saved to be able to negotiate its way back at least a little bit, and then try another branch to get around an obstacle or shoot another gap. This is a simulation of, Jersey barrier. Hey, we're from Jersey. We should be able to handle Jersey barriers. Did it beautifully. Well, in 2005 parlance, we did it beautifully. Then, of course, they set up some more vehicles that you sort of had to get around. And, oh, my goodness, are we going to hit it? 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 Well, of course not. I mean, maybe a little jerky. We can improve that, of course. In the context of today, I mean, but it is 20 years later, and 330 billion of investment worldwide tried to shake us up. Is that going to, make our systems, malfunction? No problem. In some sense, no problem. And completing this in 11 minutes and 58 seconds was really one of the best runs of the whole of anybody in the competition, in the preliminaries. And then on to Prim, Nevada on the 8th, 10th seed and being launched. And so here it goes, and it's a warm day, and I think at 4 o'clock in the morning, Josh programmed into this, hey, what happens if we have sun glare and the sun is in our eyes? What do we go in our eyes? I mean, we did have two, but in our only camera. And we said that my goodness, we know where we are, we know the time, we know where the sun is, we know our heading, so we know whether or not we should be able to. There's sun glare, and if so, then do a serpentine move instead of go straight, or just for now, rely on GPS and forget the object of avoidance piece, and hopefully we won't hit anything. But that's kind of the bootstrap that we were doing at 4 o'clock in the morning before on the 8th. Thank you, Josh, for putting that in there. And so we're just going down the roads, and this is just a camera in there, and we did have music playing in here, but because of copyright rules, we can't play you the music that was playing in the car at the time. that we're, of course, recording this on inside the vehicle. At about the 7-mile mark, the course came back near the start, so that we could go out there and see. We're waiting on where's our car. We didn't have it broadcasting where it is and seeing where it is, and then all of a sudden it appeared out of the dust, and we were cheering. And here we go, man! We're still going. We're 7 miles in. We're almost as far as Carnegie Mellon went last year. My goodness, here we are again with our objectives of academic experience, no money, and simplicity. And then at about this point, you'll see that in fact the video it's starting to basically serpentine here, and it's not because we're about to run into the sun. We have a problem, and shortly thereafter, here we were red flagged, and that was the end of our run. I think the distance that we traveled was 9.8 miles. And of course, we were exceedingly proud to have done the 9.8 miles. At least we did more than Carnegie Mellon did the previous year, and this was our first year. So we have excuses and so on, but in the end, we were extremely proud of the thing. We really had no money to bring the vehicle back, but maybe with our success, maybe we could find some money when we got back to Princeton. And we decided to just park it under a solar array at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We had tried to talk to the dean of engineering as to whether or not they had some other place for us to park it, and they sort of suggested we might leave it under that, so that at least it's in the shade, and said that we're going to come back during a midterm break, which was in 2 weeks, and get the vehicle and bring it back home. And they said fine, and so we went back to Princeton. The students took their midterms, and then we got on the plane and we came back and found the vehicle. And this is basically a picture of Andrew and Anand and me when we finally sort of opened up the memory and our code in the vehicle, and Anand realized, oh my goodness, we didn't have a garbage collector in the data stream. So after 9.8 miles, I think we were saving the position location of something like 250,000 objects. And we blew out memory because we didn't have garbage collection on it to basically just save the last 1,000 or the last whatever. We changed one line of code. That is literally one line of code, and put it back in there, and basically did the course. We did the course. We rented a van to be a chase van. We drove the vehicle on the highways from Las Vegas to Prim. With our van right in the back, because of course we had a Princeton license plate, but we didn't think necessarily the Nevada police might consider that to be a legal vehicle out there. We had all this. I mean, you think a Waymo looks bad in San Francisco, or a Zoox looks bad with all of its LiDARs and schmidars on. I mean, look at this thing going down the strip in Vegas. I mean, it's amazing we didn't get pulled over immediately. I'm driving this sucker, and we drove it to Prim, and said, okay, in the morning we're going to go out and we're going to run the course. And the next morning we ran out and did our own start, and we ran the course, and we did beer bottle pass. When we were doing beer bottle pass, I did as Andrew. I was behind the wheel, ready to take over in case in case the thing went over the side. And I told Andrew, you can't ride with me on this. You have to get in the chase vehicle with the others. Because if this thing goes over and I survive, I don't want to have to face your mother. So we're not doing this. And so, yeah, that is a little too risky. And so I stayed behind the wheel. We actually did beer bottle paths 3 times, and we did it once at night. And it turned out it worked better at night than during the day. Why? Because the headlights highlighting the obstacles, it had those obstacles nailed. Why? Because of the edges associated with the lighting access from the headlights. Surprised the heck out of us. It just worked so well. We did that. We actually did the 2005 course twice, and we did the 2004 course in reverse. Because that had come from Barstow to Prim, and we ran it from Prim to Barstow. Why? Because we happened to be in Prim, and we had the coordinates for that. I do need to put and of course, the highlight of that is these are the GPS tracks that we took, because I put Copilot in there and say the GPS tracks of exactly where we went. This is our tracks going out there. I do have to put an asterisk as to say that the thing ran the course. It didn't really run the course. There is an asterisk. Why? Because as we're going down, I don't know, after, 5 miles into the course from Prim, all of a sudden I look ahead and there's a lake, there's water ahead. And of course, I had to disengage and grab the wheel and not go into the water. Well, it turned out in the intervening 2 weeks, there had been rain showers there. And of course, this is a dry lake, that lake bed that the course ran over. Okay. But after it rains, it's not a dry lake anymore. It's a lake and it's mud. And in fact, our chase car got stuck in the mud, and we had to pull the chase van out of the mud using Prospect 11. So yes, there are some. We didn't really run the course, although we did run the course. And certainly, I guess, at least in my own mind, if we would have had not had that memory leak, won that extra line of code, if, but that's an if, then I think we would have completed it back then. I mean, this is what these students put together with basically nothing, and got an enormous amount of dirt under their fingernails in doing it, which I think has. And they've done so well in the ensuing 20 years that, at least for me, without a doubt, it was highlight of my career.
So after all of that, Alan, with the success that you had, I mean, it really was a great success, and you found out just the bit of code that needed to be changed, and would have probably completed the course. Where did you think we'd be at 20 years later with this technology?
I mean, in looking backwards, what we're being asked to do is really pretty darn simple. I mean, if you can't basically follow GPS tracks and then not hit stuff in between, that was easy. The 2007 challenge was much more challenging because it was supposed to be on roadways with other vehicles and with stop signs, and you had to do K turns and be able to do K turns and all that. And it was a real jump in 2 years of technology. And so if I take those 2 years and then extrapolate that, then, I guess without a doubt, the military would have its vehicles all automated and not put any soldier in harm's way. I mean, I still can't understand why we have piloted jet planes. I mean, when you look at it, really, you're going to put a pilot in a plane that's looking at instruments to fly it? I mean, the instruments. No. One sense, one can even ask, why do we have pilots in commercial aircraft? I mean, no, and we don't have to start discussing, the India air crash, and say, hey, we're basically at a point in which is it more or less safe to have a pilot in there? Um, it's just an ugly conversation to have, but I think it's one that, my goodness, the frailties of a human. Most humans are really great. The problem is at the end of that distribution, there's some stuff. It's what I continue to say with respect to safety on the highways, on our roadway system. For 90, who knows what percent of the people that aren't misbehaving, everything's fine, no problem. Okay? It's the misbehaviors that cause this. In some sense, if it is the misbehaviors, then there's no doubt that the technology is way better than the misbehaviors. There's no doubt that the sensors in vehicles now sense what's around me better than I can. Okay, I mean, if you have 360 vision out there that updates 36 times a second, it's seeing this way and that way 36 times a second, and backwards and forwards all at the same. What? It takes me what? And processing it at cycles, at my cognitive cycles, and seeing things, and converting it into information that'll be. I can't compete. Now, is all the code really working well and takes everything to do? And does it really recognize that, that there's a little chain there, and, we can recognize there's a chain, and oh my goodness, if we go through the chain, we can't get any benefit. You kidding me? So I think that where we are today is, or I guess what your question was, where do you think we would be? I don't know. I just thought that I've been working for so many years with personal rapid transit and using automation to provide mobility to the general problem of mobility in the United States, not just the 2% that happen to live along a corridor in which there's enormous demand for which you can put a choo-choo. Okay, that's 2% of the country. The rest of the country, what do they do when they want to go? They've been forced. They found that the way to really do what they need to do is they had to buy a car and get a car, and they're able to do. It's the band response and get home. Get there and get home, because the vehicle waits for them, and get home. Okay, so of course they go. But all of a sudden, if you don't have the availability of that vehicle, where are you? You're walking. That's how you're getting home. You're going to get there and you're going to get home by walking. And if walk is okay, then we might as well be in Pompeii before the whatever. Okay? We're in cities that are, I mean, it's a whole different, I guess we can't have 8 billion people on the planet. Okay?
So if you had had this glimpse into the future back then, and we're able to see what's going on today, would you have said that's pretty good? Or really, is that all we've done? Or what do you think you would have said?
I don't know. Of course, I thought the problem was easy, even though I told Bill Ben, no, this is a hard problem. I thought it was, but it's just, today it marvels me how good it is. Okay, it marvels me that it drives better than I drive. I'm convinced it drives better than I drive.
And I
I'm
think
I'm
you're
just
talking
convinced.
about Tesla's FSD tech.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that I happen to use often. I don't know the others. I'm assuming the others are just as good. I'm assuming Waymo's even better.
And that's another story. Waymo getting some public acceptance, it seems. The San Francisco Standard, I think,
Yeah,
had a
I think finally people are waking up, and I think enough people are finally saying, "Hey, this does provide some good to San Francisco." I mean, I like, my definition of good isn't necessarily other people's definition of good. I guess San Francisco wants to have tourists and wants to have visitors, and I think it thinks that, and wants to have, the cable car. I mean, what's the cable car? It's a tourist attraction. It is also a very good mobility system. When you got to climb a grade that's like that, you like having somebody pull you, okay? Otherwise, woofing it is pretty tough, okay? But what drives me nuts is that people just don't want to see the value of this to people who don't happen to have all what some of us happen to have, what most of us have gone and basically who knows what to have. And here these things they can do that too. Okay. They can be more than just a 12th alternative. Oh, let's see which one's on top today that I'll choose when I got all these ways to go. Some folks, they could have this up here or they have this way down here. They don't have the in-betweens. And even the things that might be better. And it's kind of a shame. And the fact and people want to talk about safety. Oh my, I'm tired of hearing about safety. Okay, you want to solve the safety problem, have people behave. Okay, it's no, it's the misbehavior. It is a misbehavior, my view. Okay, you don't have to agree with me, but that's the way I see it.
Well,
That's
I
the
think
bulk of it.
we're gonna wrap up on a bright note, I think
Uh,
here, Alan. You had a bit of a surprise this week. An award inducted into the Hall of Fame of the New Jersey Intelligent Transportation Society, and that came as a surprise. You were you didn't know you were getting this.
Yeah, it turned out it was on on the 8th too, and of course, they apparently they wanted to award it at like 1 o'clock, and they wanted it to be a surprise, and of course, then they contacted Elizabeth. She was the person that was supposed to drag me to the thing for whatever reason, and to be a surprise, and I guess she just told him, hey, if you do this at 1 o'clock, he's not showing up because he's got class at 1:20, and there's no way, even if it wasn't the 20th anniversary of the DARPA, there's no way he's not showing up for class. I mean, that's just the way, hey, that's the way I happen to run my life. I guess I do have at least one priority, and so they got him to move it to the morning, and Elizabeth dragged me to some event, and I'm rolling my eyes. Do I really need? I mean, but I'll come and support you, dear. I'll be a good husband. Okay, once in my life, I guess, and whatever. And yes, it was. Yeah, it was. I mean, but what most people may not know is, I guess, I was very instrumental in creating the Hall of Fame 30 years ago. Way, to come some early parts of what was called smart New Jersey at the time. I mean, we wouldn't be stupid New Jersey, would we? I mean, certainly, we have smart driving cars in Princeton. I mean, we wouldn't have stupid driving cars, would we? I mean, look at your shirt. I mean, so but we just thought way back in the day that some people, it really worked, very hard to try to improve mobility with technology and to use technology appropriately in improving the quality of life improvements that come from mobility. And I think that that's still the central piece of this thing. And to me is what continues to motivate me, I look at, it's not that I want to unemploy people. It's that, my goodness, the quality of the mobility that you can give if you can just tell a machine what to do. Telling a person what to do is you got to get their buy-in. A machine, you build it so that it buys in automatically. I mean, it's just easier. It's just easier. And you say, well, what about the people you unemploy? And yes, they're going to have to learn. They're going to, but the opportunities that are created by this are just unbelievable. I mean, the opportunities that a steam engine created. Sure, it unemployed a bunch of people that used to have to lug and whatever, or lift or so on. Ooh, I tell the students, look at Excel, a spreadsheet. There used to be roomfuls of people with green eye shades and so on, with ledgers in front of them that would write down and add up columns of numbers. Sometimes using I have one of those calculators in my office, a spreadsheet, and maybe many of them had MBAs. A spreadsheet, unemployed, how many? Can you imagine how many of those folks Macy's had working to log all of their sales and add up and to do purchase? But it made them so much more productive. It allowed them to really reduce the price of goods and provide them and improve the quality of life of how many people. And in improving that quality of life, generated how many more jobs? 50 years ago, the country was half the size in population, had give or take the same unemployment rate. We doubled the number of people and kept the employment rate the same, unemployment rate the same. That means how many more people are employed doing things that, I don't know, maybe at the time we had no idea they'd be doing it. Like writing code or something to do Bitcoin. I don't know. building compute centers to do AI. Who knows? And I think it's the same thing with AI. Everybody's worried about, it's going to make people more productive. And because more productive stuff will be better and cheaper. Really tough stuff will be a heck of a lot cheaper. And because it's cheaper, more people will be able to, if more people consume it, then I don't know. The Ponzi scheme is our consumption. When I was growing up, I never went out to dinner with my parents. My parents hardly ever went out to dinner. We didn't go on, even grab McDonald's. McDonald's barely existed. One, we didn't have the money for it. Two, we didn't. All of a sudden, that got to be so darn cheap, and so many jobs, nobody's cooking anymore. Who do we really unemploy with the automation? In the end, it's each of us. Instead of having to drive, we don't. Instead of me having to give you a ride, I don't. I doubt that it unemploys one gig worker of Lyft, because the number of rides that they give is just not all that many, and those will continue into the future. But there'll be more rides. More people will go to more places. People say, oh, what about congestion? Oh, my goodness. Well, maybe we'll do it with ride sharing. And even at the MIT forum on Friday, people were talking about phantom Waymos with nobody in them. Oh my goodness. There are cars running around with nobody in them. Everybody says, oh, that's terrible. Where were they, last week when a Uber driver was driving from who knows where to come to my house and pick me up and take me to Newark Airport? That should have been called a phantom Uber. Because that guy, who was a guy, could have been a gal, that vehicle is empty repositioning itself to pick me up. And I guess, I guess I'm going to try to drag out of one of my students. Hope one of them says that he's not making any progress, or she's not making any progress or in a thesis and wants to change her stuff. I guess I really want to nail what the average vehicle occupancy is in New Jersey, USA, Princeton, sometime on a typical day. I now would not be surprised if the average vehicle occupancy, if you define it of people that need to get to someplace at some time in the numerator, people who need a ride, divided in the denominator by vehicle miles traveled, car miles traveled, in cars as it exists on Route 1 or around here or whatever on a typical day. My now over under on that number. Okay, I'm going to set up, I'm going to become a gambling house. I want to be the house because then I know I'll win. Okay, I don't want to be betting, but I'm going to set that thing up, and I bet the over under on that is 0.95, as opposed to what Federal Highway Administration publishes out there, 1.7. 1.7 is the number of humans in the vehicles. The miles that the number of humans traverse in the vehicles in the numerator divided by the vehicle miles in the denominator. Okay, if that's what's in. Mobility is about people wanting to go from A to B at time t. If instead in the numerator, I just put the number of people that are trying to get from A to B at time t, and in the denominator, the vehicle miles traveled. In other words, remove the person that's driving if in fact that person that's driving isn't the person that's trying to get from A to B. Okay? Then I think because of what they want to do, not that because they have to reposition the vehicle, not because they have taken somebody to school and now are coming back home, not because they had taken a kid to soccer practice, then gone shopping. They could have gone shopping, come back. They went, this extra distance and now they got to go and pick them up and pay. Take the repositioning part that goes on in the car today. Empty vehicle repositioning, I'll call it, that nobody sees, nobody measures. Why? Because there's somebody in there doing it. Okay, it could have been a computer. Okay, because that's what it is in a Waymo. It's a computer doing it. They should put a mannequin up there. They put a mannequin out there, then there are none of these, whatever they called them, miles, phantom miles. They're not phantom miles. Okay. If you do that, in other words, you have your counting mechanism the same with respect to automated Waymos as you do here with humans. I bet my over under is 0.95. And if I do something that the house should never do, is bet. Okay, because once you bet, then the pussy, you're no longer the house. You're gonna lose. Okay, I'd be picking the under. I'd bet the ranch on the under.
Well,
Okay.
if anybody in the audience wants too. It's called Mobility Kings, and your first bet is free.
Yeah, mobility. There we go. We have to put that on the transportation channel. Hey, my goodness. Oh, that's it. Fred, we're hot today, baby.
Well, you can find us on the transportation channel.
You
You can
can.
also find us at smartdrivingcar.com, and my tech reports are at textination.com. Thank you for spending time with us. Have a great rest of the weekend and stay safe.
And since you're doing the plugs, I might as well do the plugs. I guess the transportation channel has basically invited me to be on their board or something like that, or maybe I'm not even that elevated, but at least of whatever. And I am so thrilled about the transportation channel. It's a constant. 1 year after the creation of the Weather Channel, I came to class and I said, geez, transportation was the subject. And I said, and they had final term project to do. I said, that was a sophomore class too. Hey, anybody here want to do a final project on something that just mimics the Weather Channel, but it's about transportation's channel. And there, Jonathan Sills raises his hand. Jonathan's ended up creating what Pro Flowers or something like that. And I want to do that. It's a fantastic thing. I've been wanting to see a transportation channel out there, whatever, and finally one's been created, and finally they found me and invited me, and I'm like thrilled to participate with them. I just think it's the neatest thing. Hey, transportation is 15% of the economy, and I think there are a lot of things that one can provide good information and entertainment as a streaming channel, and why not? So
Well, find it at thetransportationchannel.com.
there's my plug. Hey, and I didn't get paid, but I think they're neat. I think it's neat. I wish them all the best.